Good day to you, Guyana, and welcome to Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us this week. This week we focus on youth issues, as you know, a partnership for national unity, and the Brigadier David Granger, have committed to ensuring a good life for all Guyanese, and of course, most importantly, with focus on our young people. The Brigadier in 2011 would have campaigned on the platform of education, the fact that we need education to develop our young people, as a result, developing our nation. And he is continuing to do that in this 2015 regional and general elections, as he focuses not only on education, but on youth in general, in terms of providing employment for youth, ensuring a better youth strategy. Of course, my panel will tell you about the fact that we still haven't had a proper national youth strategy from the current Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport. But hopefully all of that will be made better after the 11th of May 2015. With me on the panel to discuss these youth issues, of course, these two persons, they're no strangers to the public. I begin with Miss Nia Gonzalez. She is an international relations student at the University of Guyana, and she's also one of the executive members of the Guyana Youth and Students Movement. For those of you who may not remember, the Guyana Youth and Student Movement is the youth arm of the People's National Congress Reform, which is the largest party in a partnership for national unity. Welcome, Ms. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Malika, for having me on the program today.
All right. Great to have you. And I also introduce to you, again, no stranger to you, Ryan Belgrave. He is the chairman of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. And of course, he's also here in his capacity as a teacher. Of course, you know, our teachers are very important in terms of molding the minds of our very younger persons, because these are young people, of course, but they're molding the minds of very younger persons in our nation. Welcome to you, Ryan Belgrave.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great to have you. Now, as we're focusing on youth, earlier this week I did an interview with Mr. Clinton Arling. As you know, he is the head of the Blue Caps organization that has dubbed themselves an organization working in the interest of youth in our country. So we'll take a look at a part of that interview, and when we come back, we'll talk about issues in general, youth issues in general, and we'll also tell you why it's important for our young people to vote for a partnership for national unity. Stay with us. That was a clip from a part of an interview I did earlier this week with the head of Blue Caps, Mr. Clinton Arling. Of course, it was very lengthy, so we had to cut it down as much as we possibly can, but it was important to get what he had to say about the youths in Guyana, the state of our youths out there. As I said earlier on the program, today we're discussing youth issues, and I have two members of the PNCR's youth arm with me. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I should have said lady and gentleman. First of all, one of the most glaring issues that we have facing our young people right now, and in this case I'm talking about young people who are going after education, who can afford to do so, and even who are even sacrificing to do so, is the current state of the University of Guyana. Almost every year for the past 5 years, even I could go as far as to say decade, we continue to see these problems arising at the University of Guyana. It's as if you're screaming at the top of your lungs and nobody's answering, nobody's responding. What damage is this doing to our youth, especially the ones who are attending the University of Guyana currently? Nia, and I know as an almost full-time student there, you'll be able to speak on that.
The students at the University of Guyana are tired, and the level of the substandard level of education and the facilities and the infrastructure at the University of Guyana is mediocre, and the students are no longer willing to accept that. You asked me what damages is that doing? What damages that's doing to the students? The damages are too much. The students at times don't even want to come to class because, for instance, me, if I go to class in the afternoon, I have to fetch a furniture. I have to fetch a combination to put in the stables. The stables are usually hot. And to go in the stables, I usually feel like an animal, like a horse. Like, horses be in the stable, but most of my classes are in the stable. So it's doing something to me psychologically. Like this is what I have to come to. I'm ashamed to tell people that I go to the University of Guyana. I wanted to leave and go to UE. I was not nationalistic about the university. I don't like the University of Guyana, and it's because not because of the lecturers there, but because of the facility and the library. I have to buy a book if I need one. I can't go to the library and decide I'm going to study there. It's really damaging me, and I know for sure many other students. And yesterday, I saw something good happen at the university. And because the students are tired, and because of that tiredness, they decided that we're not going to accept this anymore. And they decided to protest. And it is not stopping there. Today there's another action. There's a candlelight vigil. The students, the UGSS, that's the University of Guyana Student Society, they said they buried the mediocre level, the substandard education at the university yesterday. So we all wore black, and we mourned that. We mourned the degradation of the University of Guyana, and we covered the university, welcome to the University of Guyana, with a black cloth yesterday. And I believe that's the mark of a significant revolution. And I think change is going to happen. I'm positive.
Before I talk about, because I also know that you're one of the young persons like myself who would have publicly endorsed David Granger and a partnership for national unity, in saying that that is where your vote is going. I'm going to ask you just now about what APNU can do for the University of Guyana. But you talked about this revolution that they're currently having at the University of Guyana. We have seen so many protest actions and picket actions in this country, even by our own opposition party. And it seems as though at times, probably with the exception of the call for the push for local government elections, even though we have not had local government election, there was some success there because the president was eventually forced to take action because of opposition action. But apart from that, we have seen many protests and picketing exercises. And it's as if government, their attitude is, I don't care. You can picket how much you want. You can protest how much you want. What makes you think that this move by the students of the University of Guyana will somehow call attention and get some action done, maybe between now and May 11th? Because hopefully we'll be dealing with a new government after
I think that it was a smart move by the UGSS and the students. This is an election year, and we know the track record of the government and the PPPC. They usually fix our roads. They usually get things done because that's their campaign strategy, or the move to secure our votes. And I don't want the PPPC to get carried away that by maybe fixing something at the university. I don't believe that they can fix everything by now and May 11th. And I don't want them to get carried away by fixing something at the university would secure the students' votes. The students know you and know what you have done. I want to warn the PPPC again that don't come to us with what you've done, because you haven't done anything. And don't come to us and tell us what you're going to do the next 5 years if elected, because we know you. You're going to give us the promises. You're going to give us the moon and the stars. And when elected, when in office, it's the same old ball game. So I think that it was a smart move. We know the PPPC, and we know how they react. And it's an election year. May 11th is just now.
Okay. Let's talk, before I come to the GYSM chairman, let's talk about your vote going to a partnership for national unity and toward David Granger. Why are you convinced that a David Granger administration will do better for the University of Guyana?
Because Brigadier David Granger has been speaking. 2011, I didn't know who I was going to vote for. Trust me. And this man, David Granger, came out of the blue, and this man talking about education, and I know I want a proper education. He's going to do this. He's going to give lecturers and teachers going to be the highest paid public servants in Guyana. The university is going to be transformed. It's like, wow. This is the man I'm voting for. I've never heard the PPPC speak so much about improving the educational facilities in Guyana, improving our schools, our nursery schools, primary schools, secondary schools, our universities, Terraporta College of Education, like David Granger has been speaking about improving those things. And I have no other choice but to vote for the APNU because of the education and the educational education being paramount for APNU. It's number one on their list, and I believe that an educated nation is a developing nation. I believe education can push the country.
All right. Thanks, Nia. Now, Ryan, it is important for us to get, if not all of our youth, the majority of the youth in Guyana to think and to probably speak like Nia in terms of confidence in David Granger and confidence in a partnership for national unity. Now, how do you, as not only as chairman of a youth group, but as a young person, how do you plan to get them to become as vibrant as she is? How do you convince them that, look, your vote is safe with APNU?
Okay. I'm a firm believer in the statement, or the saying rather, that the change that we are looking for is us. We must become the change that we wish to see in the world. Now, as an individual, I have preached this very message. You know, we often encounter persons that speak about things that have gone wrong. Persons, in a general sense, rewrite the book of Lamentations by saying, oh gosh, this is bad and that is this. And we can go on for years to speak about all the bad things that the PPP has done. I, for one, would ask persons a simple question. What have you done? Or what are you prepared to do? If you believe that these things have, the PPP has done this to you, the PPP has not catered for the education system or for security or employment, whatever it is, how do you intend to fix it? The simplest thing that we can do, the greatest thing that we can all do, is to go out and vote whenever an elections is called. Because we understand that our vote matters. As Neo rightly said, that when it comes to elections time, oh gosh, we see all the goodness of the PPP. They fix our roads. They start giving out Santa Donald or whoever is the presidential candidate. They give out tens of thousands of dollars in little envelopes and those sorts of things. They buy ATVs and go into the interior regions and give out to the village captains. We see these good things coming out of the PPP around elections time. And it's the usual gimmick that they say that we have done this. They have done nothing except fulfill their obligation. The obligations that they have shafted for years. So we understand that if persons are going to express their displeasure openly, or even in little cocoons or little groupings, then they must now become so enraged by what is happening in the country that they would want to do something to fix the problems that we face. And the simplest things we say, to go out there, equip yourselves with your national identification card, and on elections day, vote. Vote them out. Do not believe in all these empty promises that they give to you. It's like one of them unfaithful lovers swore. They tell you, oh baby, go do, I'm gonna do all of these nice things to you. But when they get into it and when they get what they want, they just shy you in a corner. So there's it. Just go out there and vote. I will leave that as the opening statement because I know we have much more to discuss.
Yes, and
this program.
I want to follow up on that because the fact is, and I'd like to take from both of you on this. The fact is that we have a large section of the population that only know the PPP. That's a fact. I think I was about maybe 6 or 7 years old when the PPP took office. I'm not even going to try to attempt to say how old Ryan.
I was 6 years at the time.
How old? Well, then
I was just 3.
You were 3. Well, then I probably was a little older. We were very young when that's the fact when the PPP took office. So to us and to persons younger, it's like the PPP has done so much. You always see Irfan Ali, Minister of Housing, on television talking about these housing drives. And I remember if it wasn't the 2011 general elections, it would have been some speech before when the former President Jack Dio would have made a statement saying that Guyana is developing, we have more cars on the road. How do you explain to a 24-year-old, a 22-year-old that, look, this is not the government, in terms of the housing drive, the government is not doing you a favor. They're obligated to do this. And how do you say to them that there is much more out there. This is not all peaches and cream. How do you convince them that no? The fact is, and I've even raised this with the brigadier. The fact is, the brigadier is, I think, 69 years old. How do you get a 22-year-old to vote for a 69-year-old to tell him that, look, the brigadier understands what you want and where you're going? Beginning with me, I'd like you to jump in on this.
How do I get the 69-year-old to convince?
No, how do you get the youth to convince how do you convince a youth to vote for a 69-year-old because he knows what you want and he understands the importance of you getting a good future and a good life?
First, I believe the brigadier, well, a brigadier is someone in the army. So I guess he has had a lot of exposure, and I know for a fact that he has had a lot of exposure. So Guyana is nothing to him. Guyana hasn't developed, and you've made a statement that Jack Dio would have said Guyana got a lot of cars now, but that might be true. A lot of young persons are driving now because cars are cheap, and you could go to one of those car dealers and pay them for a car and pay them every month. But we have cars, but we don't have the roads to drive them on. We have the housing facility that you spoke about. That is something that the PPP has to do. I want to remind young people that the government is in service to you. We are not in service to them. We pay taxes. And because of our tax monies, they're able to do these things. They're just there to let these things function as they're supposed to deal with the day-to-day operation of these things. In terms of us having a proper education, they're the ones that are supposed to provide us with a proper education. They're the ones that are supposed to put the facilities in place for us to have a proper education. In terms of us securing jobs, they're the ones that are supposed to create job opportunities for us. Even if we want to branch off and get into entrepreneurship, they're supposed to have things in place so that we can either borrow a loan to start our businesses or something. They're the ones that's supposed to do it. We're not supposed to beg them, or we're not supposed to go and kiss their feet to get these things done. They're supposed to do it because we are taxpayers and we're citizens of this country. And as a citizen of a democratic country, they're supposed to put provision in places for you to get things, for you to get housing, for you to get jobs, for you to get proper schooling, for you to get water, infrastructure, health care, everything.
Yes, Ryan.
To add to what my colleague said, the youth of Guyana already know what is it that they need. We need a government that listens to young people, a government that takes care of the need of young people. All young people, irrespective of which geographical region you may find yourself from, irrespective of which ethnic group you may belong to, irrespective of which religious grouping you may associate yourself with. We need a government that takes care of the need of all young people. We need a government that will fix the education system. The education system that was damaged, the education system that was massacred by the People's Progressive Party, Civic. We need a government that will take care of the healthcare system. A healthcare system with the premier institution for healthcare in our country being only good to pronounce persons dead on arrival. And all they can give to you in times of need are those GPTs, general purpose tablet, for whatever cases you may have. We need security in our country. Young people are fully cognizant that the PPPC, that Minister Clement Rowe has not taken care of or cannot take care of our security. We have a Guyana police force that is undermanned. We have instances where people report the serious crimes to the police station. You call them to say someone is in my house and they tell you that we haven't any vehicles available. Can you come get us, or could you send a car for us? So we need a government that will take care of our security. We need a government that will provide employment for young people. We have so many graduates of the University of Guyana. You know, oftentimes we hear the rhetoric that the PPP has trained 400 young people in this community to do some special project or so. To what end do you train 400 people? To what end do we have thousands of persons graduate from the University of Guyana yearly, and then we cannot provide them with employment. What are we doing really? So we need a government that looks after our employment, and ultimately that will empower young people. Yes, we have a lot of cars on the road. Yes, we have a lot of skyscrapers, but again, to what end? We have skyscrapers and persons are underhoused and unhoused in many parts of the country. You have persons with the Minister of Housing, as you said, Irfan Ali, speaks many of times about giving out these $1 billion or $1 million house lots, and people get the house lot, and then what's next? What's next? What can they do with it? Because they cannot afford. They're still making payments on the house lot, yet alone to know when they'll be able to build on these lots under the PPPC regime. So it is not hard to convince young people to vote for David Arthur Granger. We see Mr. Granger is the only person that has been, the only candidate rather, that has been to all 10 of the administrative regions in this country. He engages young people, he speaks to them, he listens to them, he asks our views on issues affecting everyone in the country. Okay, and he basically is the only person so far that has shown us that he has a true plan for not only youth development, but for the development of the entire country. So it's not hard to convince young people. What we will do as a youth arm, what I will do, what Neo I'm certain will do, we will go to the young people wherever they are. If it means that we should infiltrate a Seawalls gang or a Seawalls hang rather on a Sunday night, we'll go out on the Seawalls. We will speak to young people, because make no mistake that young people would like to hear. They want someone to come and engage them because they have a lot on their mind. They want to share their views about issues that are affecting them. So it is not very hard to convince young people that they should vote for David Arthur Granger.
All right, great. Viewers, if you're now tuning in, of course, this is Facing the Nation. We're dealing with youth issues today. On the panel is the chairman of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement, and of course, an executive member of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. Of course, that's Ryan Belgrave and Nia Gonzalez. Now, Ryan, as a teacher, you touched on a lot just now, a lot to swallow. Viewers, I'll try to take some of your calls maybe in the last 10 minutes or so of today's broadcast. Ryan, you talked about the education system and the education sector. Now, one of the things that we've repeatedly heard the Brigadier saying is that he will institute the one laptop per teacher policy. As a teacher, how will that help in terms of developing the education sector and schools and children across the nation?
In the advancement of technology, not only in Guyana but worldwide, I believe that this gesture, that policy program by the Brigadier, is a welcome or timely gesture, because we know that for a fact that computers today form an integral part in the education of any society. In order to access certain information where libraries fall short, where we cannot get them at public places, we can access these things quite quickly and conveniently from our computers. So yes, one laptop per teacher. I'm certain many teachers like myself will welcome that gesture, because it will aid us in the delivery of education in Guyana, the effective and efficient delivery of education in Guyana. Added to that, I also know that it is a policy or principle of, or policy rather, of a partnership for national unity, that when we get in government, also to add to this one laptop per teacher, we're going to have, what do you call it, internet access?
Yes.
Internet access in public places, in our schools, at our community centers, at our libraries, so that persons, although you have this computer and you may not afford, well, on the APNU things will become more affordable. But if you may not be able to afford internet access at home, then you can all congregate at these public places that will have free internet access for you to do your research. Because we see this failed program, one laptop per family nonsense that the PPP has tried to do, some mediocre laptops that are breaking every 5 days or so, and then persons cannot access the internet. They have the things, there's no training or teaching
it's not
for
laptop,
them.
it's just notebooks, sir.
One little book per family. So we will, the one laptop for teacher is a timely and welcome gesture. I'm not only saying it because as a teacher I'll be given a laptop, because I have my own already, but I'm certain that many teachers will be beneficiaries
Beneficiaries.
of this gesture.
Okay. Okay, understood. Nia, earlier you spoke about jobs. Why do you believe that the PPP has not been able to provide jobs for young people? Because every now and again we have, and I can, and maybe this will not be a direct quote, but I can talk about the finance minister himself here. He comes every year and he talks about economic growth and the fact that they've done so much and they've been able to provide jobs, and this will provide jobs and that will provide jobs. But yet we see a whole lot of young persons are unemployed. That is a fact. Why have they not been able to provide employment for young people?
First off, the PPP nepotism has played a part. But apart from that, we've seen foreign investors in Guyana. We've seen them in our interiors. We've seen them even in our coastland. And when these people come here to build a building or look for something in the interior, or they bring their own workers with them, that shouldn't happen. I believe that if you're going to have foreign investors coming into your country, at least 80% of the persons working along with these people should be Guyanese. We've seen the Marriott built by our seawall, which doesn't make any sense. But when the Chinese came here and built the Marriott, not one single Guyanese was employed. And we've seen lots of Guyanese looking for work, laborers, construction workers, masons, electricians. They cannot find a job. And these people are in our country building whatever they're building, digging for whatever they're digging. Apart from that, there is no opportunity for people like myself. I'm jobless. People like me to create a job, to open a business. I can't get a loan from the bank because the bank don't know I'm going to pay them back. I don't have a job. And then there's no building or nothing. iPad, I don't know if iPad functions anymore. But the government has not put in provision infrastructure for entrepreneurship, or they've not set up manufacturing industries. I remember I was told that we had a match industry, a textile industry.
Several.
We had
Several.
we had the sawmills. We had yes, we had
industry.
this other thing, the flour mill. What happened to those things? Those things we need to do better. We can do farming. Whatever happened to planting and growing your own food?
If I may,
Yes,
I may
yes.
interject, added to what Nia said, because she brought up a very important point. The PPPC administration has effectively shut down the manufacturing industry in Guyana. Because we know prior to them getting into office, we had all of these things, clay brick. We manufactured our own clay brick, and now they're at the point where we're importing these things. So we shut down our own. We effectively shut down industries that provided employment for thousands of Guyanese. And now we're seeking to, because we got this foreign mentality, the PPP has this foreign mentality that if it comes from somewhere other than Guyana, it is good. We even see that with the way that they treat our university students, because they don't give them opportunities in talking about jobs. We saw at one time when they were talking about this fiber optic cable, and they were looking at a certain project where they had consultants coming in from overseas for a same project where persons from the university bid to take care of. Mm-hmm. They said that they're not willing to trust our own persons that were bred here, persons that were trained here. So in terms of joblessness in our country, we understand that the PPPC has no real plan for jobs. As long as they could provide a project that they can put a $500 million in their pocket, that's it.
But apart from any government creating jobs for young people in a country, do you believe that, especially in this country, that the conditions are conducive for young people to start their own businesses and provide and create employment for themselves? Can we do that?
Security there comes into mind. Mm-hmm. Security as in the physical state of being safe, and security as in security for your investment, because you'll be taking a risk. understanding that in the present scheme of things, that in certain persons, as long as you do not pledge allegiance to the PPPC, your business does not develop. We've seen that before. And security in the form that persons are unable, persons are afraid to take that risk of becoming an entrepreneur, because you're studying that today I might go out there and I may open, let us say, a little goldsmith, and by the time tomorrow persons are there on me and they're robbing me and taking away my livelihood and those sorts of things. So I don't think the present climate is conducive for entrepreneurship or for persons to engage in forms of investment. And as Nia rightly said, even to foreign investors, I've seen this. They view the issues of security and political instability in our country, and they're afraid to come and invest in different industries here.
Finally, before we go to our phone lines, now, the fact is, you just mentioned it. There is a fear, especially among young persons, and I mean, it's bravery with both yourself and with Nia. You hear things like, look, you know I'm going to support APNU, I'm going to support David Granger, but I have to think about my bread and butter issues. If I stand up today and say the PPP is doing wrong as a young person, I can be victimized, I can be punished. I can't be publicly affiliated or associated with a partnership for national unity. As two persons who seem to have conquered the fear, because obviously one is a teacher, he obviously works with the ministry, which is basically saying that he works with the government. How do you convince young persons that, look, this is the time for that fear has gone. It's time to stand up and say a right thing is a right thing and a wrong thing is a wrong thing?
We cannot ostracize ourselves from the fact that the PPPC government practices tactics of victimization and discrimination, especially in regard to persons that may openly speak out against the bad things that they've been doing. We have experienced, let's say 2011, one of our comrades went up at a public meeting and he spoke about a certain member of the People's Progressive Party, Civic, and some of the bad things that he, for a fact, knew that this person was doing. And coincidentally, he had 2 days later some form of a channel bomb hurled at his home, and the police has given them assurance that they could do nothing about it. We've seen persons, I think Nia of herself could attribute to this here, that because of affiliation or speaking about or associating with persons from a Partnership for National Unity or being a member of a Partnership for National Unity, that they've lost their livelihood, they've lost their employment. Now, how can we convince young people that let us say that you openly speak out against the problems that you're facing, about the things that the PPPC has you enduring, that we cannot assure anybody of security. But what we must say, that for too long we've been sitting on the sidelines and allowing this government, we've become complacent, because after 22 years of PPPC mismanagement, PPPC discrimination tactics and victimization tactics in our country, if we haven't had enough, if we haven't come to this point that we're at saturation point and we need to do something about it now, get up and speak up. Because when one person stands, it is symbolic. When 2, 3, 4 persons stand, then you see that the winds of change have started blowing. And eventually the whole of Guyana will rise up and say that, you know what, we're fed up with the PPP and we want a new breath of life in our country. We want a government that caters for the needs of all Guyanese, a government that practices inclusivity, national unity, a government that will ensure prosperity, a better life for all Guyanese.
Okay. All right, great. I think that's a perfect note to go to our phone lines on. Viewers, the phone lines are now open. Please be as brief as you possibly can. Be respectful. Turn the volumes of your television sets down. And today we are only discussing youth issues. If you call with any other subject or any other sector, I'm going to ask the members of the panel to not respond. Thank you very much. Caller, good day to you. Caller, are you there? Caller? All right, we seem to have lost that one. Caller, welcome.
Good day. I must congratulate people, especially two young teachers. But I would like to ask, you've been expressing a lot of things that the young people need. what is there to guarantee? What guarantee is there, to when Granger win, that these things will happen?
Okay. Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
All right. Ryan, you want to take that one?
What guarantee is there that when Mr. David Granger becomes the next president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, when a Partnership for National Unity assumes the role of governance or government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, what guarantee is there that the needs of our young people, be it the needs, the education needs, the empowerment, employment needs of young people, are taken care of? One, because enshrined in the principles of a Partnership for National Unity is the fact that education, as Nia said, education is paramount. And we are going to fix the education system. We understand, we know of all the problems of the education system. We're going to ensure that all Guyanese, providing that they are willing, gainful employment in our country. We're going to fix the problems of the healthcare system and all of the other sectors in our country that are bleeding, that are in need of fixing. One of the major guarantees, one of the most potent things that you should know that we can tell you that these things will happen is the fact that we are here. And if a Partnership for National Unity does not deliver on their promises, then we're going to hold them to task as we're holding the PPPC to task.
Okay, great. Our phone line seems to be quiet for a moment or two. Ryan, could you talk a bit about you did talk about how the GYSM is going to reach the young people, but could you put a little more emphasis on the fact so that that caller and other persons who are wondering could understand that there is a plan to reach young people? How do you plan to get them to vote APNU?
The Guyana Youth and Student Movement, like a Partnership for National Unity, we have embarked on a series of traditional as well as non-traditional means of targeting youth of our country, because we understand the importance of the youth vote. Now, traditional means we're going house to house, we're knocking on every door, we're going through the streets, we're having our public meetings, we're going to talk to people about the issues. And non-traditional means we're going to explore the means, or we're going to use social media. We're going to capitalize on the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever the different things that they have available on the internet. We're going to be sending text messages. We're sending broadcast messages to our friends on BBM and WhatsApp and what's not. We're going to touch them. We're going out to the seawalls. We're going to be having these youth caravans where we're going into the areas again, having our them different jingles and so that touch the young people and speaks to different issues. So again, we're going to use traditional as well as non-traditional means of targeting the youth population.
Okay, understood.
Ryan, I want to. Young people are ready for this election. I usually take a look at my Facebook page every now and then, and the young people are fed up. They're posting their disgust about this administration on their Facebook pages. Most of them are not employed, and I guess because of that, they could never get employment under the PPPC administration. But they're fed up, and again, I'm warning the PPPC, do not come to us with what you're going to do for the next 5 years. You have a track record for 22 plus years of not doing anything for us. So,
Caller,
I'm just reminding the PPP, it's just a warning to them. Don't go to the young people with what you're going to do for the next 5 years and all these glitz and glamour for us. We know your story already.
okay. I trust they're hearing you loud and clear. Caller, you there? Caller?
Hello?
Caller, welcome. You're on the air. Good afternoon. You have to speak up for us.
I'd like you to go around and remind you that
Caller, you have to speak up for us, sir. Caller, you there? Caller, good day to you.
good day. At the area, I'm looking at the program, right?
Yes.
An area I'm talking about the age group. I think I was fortunate to burn at that time. If they burn a bit more oil, they won't even realize that they have to line up to get food.
All right. right. I trust that we're not having phone issues. Callers, we're having some trouble with hearing you, but I was able to hear that caller talk about line up for getting food, and he's talking about before our era. This is one thing that I want to say to some people, especially the ones who campaign for the PPP and they talk about the PNC 28 years. Newsflash, we don't care. Most of us do not care. You telling us about what happened during a PNC 28-year reign, we don't care. We were not, some of us were too young then, and some of us were not born. We don't, it's not relevant to what we want today. So for those of you who are campaigning for the PPP and you insist on coming to us, as Nia said, she knows what you will come to us with. If you come to us with 28 years, I mean, we don't want to hear. We do not care. Caller, are you there? All right, we seem to have lost that one. I don't know if any one of you have anything to add, because I'm tired of hearing it.
I can understand your frustration, Malika. we see that the elections campaign for 2015 have begun. And already the PPPC, they're campaigning not on their 22 plus years in government. But they're campaigning about some 28 years gone by that, as you said, the majority of voters out there have not experienced and do not, as you say, do not care to understand what happened then. We know what is happening now, and this is our concern. We're going to go out there on elections day, vote against the PPP because of the life that we envisage, the life that we would like to have, not the life that they trying to tell us that may have happened some time ago, that they have no legitimate claim to. As you see, they have these advertisements where the PPP is telling you about prior to them getting into office, and they're showing you pictures of now.
Yes.
They're going out into devastated communities
Deceitful.
now, and they're just taking camera effects and making the thing black and
Toyota
white. But this is under the PPPC government.
Exactly.
Those pictures that you see of depressed communities are the communities that the PPP has allowed to get like that.
Yes. Exactly.
So I don't understand their campaign tactics, and they try to believe that Guyanese are fools. We're not fools.
Exactly. We are alive and well. I think we're having some trouble with not necessarily the phones here, but there are several distorted songs coming and we can't hear our callers properly. I'll try with one more call before we have to begin to wrap up. Caller, are you there?
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller. Caller?
I will be voting for David Granger because I like him
Caller, thank you
for Guyana. Hello?
Yes, caller.
Hello?
Unfortunately, viewers, I think we were having some interference with our phones. We can barely hear the callers today. This is a first, but of course we're in the election season, so we expect anything. We expect this and we expect much more. Ladies and gentlemen, before we have to go, just so that we can take the discussion back to where we began, why is it important? Very brief comments. Why is it important for young people to not waste their votes? Why is it important for them to give it to APNU, beginning with Nia?
Young people, you have a very important role to play in securing your future, maybe your child's future or children's future, and in the long run, your grandchildren's future. Not wasting your vote and voting for an APNU government. The PPP has not done anything for you, and I believe the majority of you have solid proof of that. The PPP was in office for 22 years plus. They're still in office, and we're disenfranchised educationally wise, health wise. Job-wise, we're disenfranchised. The majority of us cannot secure a job. The majority of us are not able to go to universities in Florida and the University of the West Indies and Miami and stuff like that. So we need to vote solidly for an APNU government because they have our best interest at heart. The Brigadier has your best interest at heart when it comes to education. And the education and development starts at education. Development starts with an educated population. Thank you.
Thank you, Nia. Brian?
All right. It is easy. It is convenient. It is simple for us to talk about change and about the need for development. But now is the time for us to get involved in this change process. The Guyana Youth and Student Movement, we're asking you to respect your vote. Respect your vote enough not to waste it. Respect your vote because you know that your vote is your voice. And also ensure that you remember that even if you don't do it for yourself, that your vote is someone else's future. When you look at on the faces of our young people, of our youth, those little ones that cannot go out there and vote, that you know if they had the opportunity to vote, that they will vote for APNU and they will do the right thing. You understand that they know what they want for their future. So respect your vote and respect your vote enough not to waste it.
Thank you very much, Nia. Phil Gonzalez, GYSM executive member and of course international relations student at the University of Guyana, and Ryan Belgrave. He is the chairman of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement, of course working along in all youth areas regarding PNCR and a partnership for national unity. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I do apologize. I'm not sure what happened with our phone lines, but of course, as you know, we always accommodate your thoughts, your comments, and your questions. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for tuning in. Join me again next week. Be good Guyanese citizens. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Goodbye.